Hello everyone, welcome back to Hot Seat Season 3. I'm Omid Moghaddas joining you from Calderon, and once again I'm so thankful to have this platform to share our knowledge and my dear guest knowledge with all of you around the world. And I'm so happy that all these great educators and practitioners and friends accepting the invitation and joining us from this platform. Today I have a very dear friend. Dr. Mike Elvis Calderon is here with me from United States. Hello, Mike. Welcome to Hot Seat.
Hey. Hi, how are you? Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for accepting.
Been looking forward to this.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. The pleasure's all mine. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You know, I have to say, Mike, I actually didn't say it prior to the beginning of Hot Seat, but I always say you are one of the most energetic and positive people I've ever seen in my life. You know, whenever I want to get, more energetic, I go to your page and listen to some of your posts. You know, I have to say big like. I'm a great fan, and thank you for your positive energy, for posting great things for everybody and your lovely family. So I just wanted to say that because you are one of the special people I know in my career and my life. So thank you for the energy you spread to the world. Today, Dr. Calderon.
Thank you.
Today, Dr. Calderon, we're going to talk about a very important topic. You know, over the past 2 seasons, we talked about dentistry, we talked about techniques, we talked about innovations, we talked about the steps in the procedure, the follow-ups, and etc. But today, we want to go and talk about another side in our practice. And the topic that he chose is you become. I'm not going to go through the details of that how he will present it and what he will talk about, because I'm pretty sure he will present it the best way. But I'm so excited that we will talk about this topic today. But before we start, I would like to have his CV for all of you. I'm pretty sure so many of you are familiar with him, but as a tradition, I will have his CV, and then we will go through a presentation, and at the end, we will have a short discussion on the topic. Dr. Calderon, founder and president of Calderon Institute. He received his DDS degree from Case Western Reserve University School of Dentistry in 1994. And graduated a 2-year NYU CDE implant and prosthetic program where he continued on as an associate clinical professor at New York University for 11 years. Throughout his career, he has placed more than 10,000 implants and performed more than 600 lateral wall sinus lifts. And he lectures and instructs on all aspects of implant surgery and prosthetics nationally and internationally. He's a diplomate of the American Board of Oral Implantology, diplomate of ICOI, and has established a private practice in Suffolk County, Nassau County, and New York City, where he provides both advanced surgical and prosthetic phases of implant dentistry for his patient. Again, I'm super excited to have Mike as one of my guests on Hot Seat, and ready from head to toe to hear your presentation, my friend. The platform is all yours.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation. I hope that I can give people a view of a different view of where we're going. All right. And the biggest thing, if to help people relate to this, is that when you graduate, you want to do everything. You know how that is, that hunger that you want to do everything, but you got to do things right. There's one way of doing things right, and there's 1,000 ways of doing things wrong. And we all know that. But you know what? With experience, we have to use our experience, good and bad, to get better and to become. All righty. And to become that doctor that you wanted to be 20 years ago. All righty. And it only comes with experience and good leaders, good input. You get this from the people around you. And this is what I was trying to express to you, Omid, like you, myself, we're great friends, and somebody like you is a wealth of information. All the people that we know, wealth of information. And as I expressed to you once before, is we can get a lot of information from one lecture, but if you take 100 lectures, 100 courses, that's 100 different
Yeah.
ideas and points of view to the same thing. And you get more information from camaraderie, from having a cup of coffee together than a whole lecture where you can sit there the whole day. So that's my point. And I have a few people that I want to thank, before I forget, not only you, Omid, thank you so much for the invitation and, just being a good friend to me and all that. And, all of us being together, but I mentioned to you before, names that come quickly to mind, because I don't really rehearse this, but they're good friends of mine. And they all had input in this becoming. All right. And, it's like, I told you, Michael Picos, Scott Gantz, Ziv Mazer, all great people. The late Lenny Linkau, the late Carl Misch. Those are guys that really helped me develop over the last 20 years. And everybody has their way of teaching, and everybody learns a different way. So that's good. So I'm going to take you into this little lecture that it's not going to hit specific points of bone grafting procedures or tissue grafting procedures or implant procedures, because as you know, a bone course is a whole week easily on different kinds of bone. Membranes, another whole course. Titanium mesh, a whole different course. Just implants alone, implants, a whole different course. Crown and bridge, a whole different course. Digital, a whole different course. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's to the dentist that's graduating today and tomorrow, and to those of you that want to get into advanced implant dentistry, you need to go about it slowly and wisely, and then you will become. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So you let me know, Omid, when you want me to start with the little lecture, and we'll go forward, because I don't want to take up too much of your time either.
You can start now. We are ready.
All right, my friend. Here we go. Let's see. How do we feel there? Can you see everything?
Yeah, perfect. Everything's perfect.
So, Omid, I'm going to mention a few things here. I do have my own little institute that I started back in 2010. So you'll kind of see my symbol. I'm kind of rebranding everything. So you'll just see that. But everybody knows me as Implant Mike, or I'm the crazy one that goes like this on the screen. And the reason why I do that is because you'll always remember me by that. I have people that come to me at the airport. They say, "Hey, you're Implant Mike." I go, "Yeah, how do you know?" They're like, "You go like this." I go, "Yeah, I do. That's me." So, it doesn't matter how much you know. It's how young you can feel by being silly. Okay? So here we go. Let's see. Calderon Institute. Can I do this? I'm going to make sure my fingers are on. That's my cell phone. If anybody ever wants to reach me in the United States, you can always text me. My wife is used to people calling me or texting me at 2 o'clock in the morning. She used to be suspicious at first, but now she understands. I mean, come on. I'm talking to Iran right now, right? So that's today, okay? Every summer, I do my hair crazy, okay? You'll see different colors, silver or blonde, and that's the office, and the whole title to this is You Become. This is the person you become. In the becoming, what we do is, one thing is that you never listen to anyone that says you shouldn't be doing this. Can you see the screen, or we're in a way of anything? And then, so I've come across a lot of people when I first started in 1995 that they would tell me I shouldn't be doing certain things. And I didn't understand. I'm like, why are you telling me not to do something? So this doctor, I remember there are two doctors, okay, two surgeons, and they're retired already, but I'm not going to mention their names, but they're retired. But I remember they would always tell me, don't get into implants, don't do this, don't do that, because, you're going to be married to the patient, things are going to get complicated. So I would listen. I'm like, okay, they're being my friends, they're watching over me. But after a while, I said, no, I need to control this. So I started taking courses. And in the becoming, you're taking one course every year, then two courses every year. By my third year, I already started placing implants after I graduated, implants in abundance. And the doctors found out I was doing this, and they were my friends. They never called me again. So they really weren't my friends. So it's okay though. So what happened, I still see them every once in a while because I know they're retired, and I say hello, but they know that who I became. So never let anyone stop you. All right, but you got to continue learning. You got to learn from people that are credentialed. Okay, so you have to also recognize your limitations. What that means is that, as you get wiser and wiser in your procedures, you become educated in this, you're going to know what you shouldn't do yourself. And what you do then is either you go and learn how to do it the proper way, or you let somebody else do it. But that's part of wisdom, knowing your limitations. They call super GPs, when you become a general practitioner and you start taking orthodontic courses, implant courses, bone grafting courses, all these courses, you become that person that kind of knows every field. When you think you know too much, or you think you know everything, that's when you know it's time to retire, because no one knows everything, right? We go forward and let's see what do you see. I'm going to give you an example right off the bat. We're not going to really talk about big case. I want to see, like, when you come into the office and you see that, as a person who just graduated, you're thinking, okay, maybe I can do a bridge, maybe I can do implants, but you don't know yet. As a person who is advanced is going to look at this and say, okay, they're going to need, everything removed. We're going to bring this back to a FP2 setup so that we can give her a beautiful smile. And this is a woman, okay, who has gone through a lot. So this is what we look at, and you have to know already how you're going to approach this before you even look inside the mouth. Then we have this inside the mouth. You have tori. So what are you going to do with this person who's only, 50 years old, 49 years old? What are you going to do with that? Okay, it's not just place an implant. So you have to have a whole surgical approach to this. And everybody has a different approach, but I know those tori are just going to get bigger over time. And we want these implants to last at least until we retire, right? So the tori removal is going to be the next step, during all this procedure, to make this patient totally comfortable, because those tori get bigger, we have problems with our tongue now. Then you have this case here. This patient walked in, somebody did this to them. So when you look at this, I know right off the bat by looking at that tissue above the area of the centrals, something's bad going on there. Somebody did this to him, but whoever worked on him the day before, I think this was like a day or two before I saw him, this person, they didn't have that whole idea of how to approach this. They should have approached it a different way. So you can't get upset or never talk badly about someone else. If they don't know, they don't know. So this is how you become. You become that person that when you see this, you know how to approach it. And how? Because you've learned from 10, 20 different people over the 20 years. Then you have this case here. I love this case. This case here, as a recent graduate, if somebody just graduated from dental school, or they're 3 years out and all they're doing is crown and bridge, they're going to look at this case and look like if they're going to do a bridge from canine to premolar, and that's it. When I was talking to the patient, I was seeing something else, but I'm going to show you more. Okay, so this is not just a bridge, but we know that by conversation, and by camaraderie, and by becoming. The stages of becoming. So I'm going to take you back to when you first graduated. So, Omid, when did you graduate?
I graduated in perio in 2010 and in general dentistry 2006.
You see, so you got 15 years experience on, okay? So that's a lot, all right? That's a lot. So now, but do you remember just doing bonding and extractions and just removal prosto when you first graduated? You did, right? So, and you were doing great. You loved it, but then you realized you needed more, all right? And that realization is the becoming, right? You become who you are, because then you start taking orthodontics. I took orthodontics for 2 years, got certified on that, doing a straight wire technique and all. And then I got into implants and socket grafts and PRF, okay? I wanted to draw blood out of the arm and start doing that. So we have over here, we have to thank Joseph Shokran for doing that. He's another gentleman that, he's a wealth of information, okay? Then you go into full arch rehabilitation. The gentleman that taught me on this is a guy named Dean Bafiatis, really educated me on this. Dean, do you know Dean? Great guy. He's out here in New York City. He's got that strong personality like we all do, and he's a wealth of information. Love the guy. Every time we get together, all we do is laugh. Okay. But in that laugh, you learn a little something. So then you go on with full mouth rehabilitation. You can't do that without knowing how to do sinus lifts, how to do soft tissue manipulation, titanium mesh for bone grafts for large areas. All right. Perio. Perio is a big key, and realize how important perio is as time goes on. You need to protect those implants, and that's you're going to do with perio. And then finally you start getting into zygomatic and pterygoid implants, right? Now that's a whole different field. So I got into this because you know what? I was waiting too long after a sinus lift to put somebody into a full arch. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And if I had young people doing this, I said, there's no way I'm going to let somebody younger than me, 10 years, 15 younger than me, do this, not me. So boom, I did it. You got to keep on advancing. Remember, once you think you know everything, time to retire. And then to put the rose on the suit, okay? Every suit looks good until you put a little collar tie on it, or you put a rose on it, a flower. You got to learn Botox, PDO threading, and lip fillers. So when you start doing this, you can paint the whole canvas. And then you invent. You got to invent something. You got to leave your legacy somewhere, okay? So now let's go bonding, extraction, remove. Remember this case I just told you? Somebody will just want to do a bridge here, and that's it. Alrighty, and I'm not going to talk about the expense because prices vary all over the world. But whatever, somebody will look at this and say, this is an eight crown bridge. And now let's assume that you collect $100 per crown, okay? Let's assume it's $100 only. Just to make math easy, that's $800. But this case here is a lot more. First of all, the midline's off, okay? This is a case about, I think, 15 years. So it's no fault of the doctor or the patient. Maybe that's all they were able to do back then. I don't know what they did before me. All I know is what I can do now. And that's my biggest thing when I speak to patients. You know how patients come to you like, oh, this doctor did this doctor did that, they did this to me. I always say, please, let me fix you from today on. What happened yesterday, I cannot help you. And I cannot, no, I don't know what you were thinking. So let's just go from today on and I will help you. So that's what I always say. It doesn't matter what they did. Let's just go from today on. Fix the problem. So the midline. I saw this midline the minute the woman was talking to me, okay? Then when you look at this, Omid, you're looking at this, at this smile, and do you see anything else, all right? So what I saw right away is this. What does that mean? Her lip is thinner on her left side than on her right side. Why could that be? Okay. Why would that be? So you're going to look in there. So right away, that tells me she lost volume, right? You just did it. She lost volume on the inside. Okay. So where did she lose the volume? What happened? So we got to go forward. This is what she looked like on the inside. Look at all that volume she lost in the upper left side, her upper left side. So what happened? I don't know. It could have been an teeth out. I don't know. It doesn't matter. All I know is I got to take it from today on. So when you look at this area, all that volume is gone. The area because her lip is collapsed. It's collapsed. She's going to look older over time. Remember, we're all going to get older, but we don't have to go there first. Okay, we can be there last. So that's my concern there. So she came in only for bridge work, and she ended up walking out with, I think, 3 implants plus more work and multiple gingival grafts. But today, that's a provisional only. She's only in a temporary. But look at the volume of bone and soft tissue we have there. That's what we want to get to. Now, was she ever going to get 100% vertical height? No. Okay, but we did the best we could with what we had. And she is dramatically happier. She even says when she puts a lipstick on now, she feels better. So that's a big difference. You don't want to do something just because you want to make it look good. You have to get to the emotion to make them smile with their eyes. Okay. Now, look, Coachman, he told me that, taught me that. Smiling with the eyes. If you see somebody laugh with their eyes, you know that you succeeded in what you wanted to do with them. So your next step of the becoming is implants, sockets, socket grafts, PRF. Very, very important PRF today. And the reason why you're going to go to this is because you're getting hungry for that change. You're getting tired of just doing fillings and just doing crowns and not getting the complete aesthetic result you want. So PRF. So I just kind of threw it into that way. If anybody doesn't know PRF, you have to start this right away. You have to start it because you only get better at it over time. Okay, so we do this every week at the office, all the time. So it's not something that I have to plan out. It's just we already know. The staff says, all right, bring PRF. The cart comes over, it gets done right away. And most dentists don't know how to draw blood. And that's the scary part, but that's okay. That's okay. You have to just jump into it and you will get to it and get proper training. Okay. Anybody in the United States, I'm going to mention my course a couple of times. I'm the Calderon Institute. And when they come over to the course, they've taken the Maxi courses. They've taken other courses. And, when we come over, we thank all those courses because it brings everything together. And then we just kind of make all the ingredients, make a delicious soup. So just learning this stuff, just the implants and the socket grafts and PRF, you're not going to learn that in 1 month. You're going to learn how to do it, but you're going to see the results in 6 months, a year later. Then you're going to place the implants. And basically 5 years later is when you really see what you did and how it healed. So it takes about 5 years, which coincidentally is how you get credentials with the major implant organizations like the American Academy of Implant Dentistry. They have Maxi courses all over the world. You have the ICOI, which is the International Congress of Implantology, and you have the AO. Okay, and then you have other courses also, other programs that are with implants. Get involved. My point is get involved because everybody has something to teach you. Okay, and it's up to you to get that information and become. So get your credentials. You need to get the credentials. So then, all of a sudden I come across cases I want to place implants, but I know that I have to move the teeth over to make room for implants. So do I send it out to an orthodontist and then wait for them to come back 2 years later for me to do this? No. So I took orthodontics for 2 years. Okay. So now when somebody comes in, I have to straighten their smile out before I put implants. I do that in the office. So now I do orthodontics, I do the perio, do the implants, do the bone grafting, and we go forward. And this is all part of the becoming. Patient walks in like this into your office. You see something wrong here already. If you look at a vermilion border on top, you see the little fulcrum there, the midline's way off. Now, 2 solutions. You can pull everything out and give her all on 4, which would be detrimental here. And unfortunately, I don't want to attack any organization, but there are a lot of doctors today want to pull everything out and do all on 4 because they believe that's a solution to get an ideal smile. But you don't want to cripple somebody. So, pulling out teeth is like pulling out a finger. You don't want to cripple them. So you do orthodontics. But how do you know to do orthodontics? You take orthodontic courses, right? And just gives you another way of thinking. So this is what she looked like when I finished the top. Okay, we got the midline better as best as could be. You're never going to be perfect unless you pull everything out. But she understood that. And we continue with the lower. But this is the key. She sent me this picture. This picture tells me everything. Okay, she took a selfie. She sent me a thank you. That smile is what we created, that emotional attachment. So today when she comes in, she still says thank you. Look, I just got a chill just by looking at this case because I remember when she came in. They get frustrated. They, because they're adults. Kids will get braces, but adults don't want braces. So, but this is the result, and she realizes that when she sees pictures from before and after. A wonderful woman. She allowed me to share her photos, so that's why she's there. Okay. By the way, all patients that you see photos here, I have absolute permission to show on all social media, lectures all over the world for any reasons. Okay. Before anybody should say, oh, you shouldn't be showing their face. I have absolute permission from them, written and verbal. So now the next step, sinus lifts, full arches, rehabilitation, tie mesh. Now we're getting more surgical. So these courses that teach these courses, the sinus lifts and all, are more surgical courses. So you're going to start moving into areas that teach you more and make you a little more experienced with handling complicated cases, which is the lateral wall. I still remember the first time I did a lateral wall. And there's a gentleman, Jason Kim. I don't know if you know Jason Kim. Jason Kim is a great doctor. He's a good friend of mine. He was always a year ahead of me while we were learning implants at NYU, and then we both became instructors for the implantology department at NYU. So it's great. We've been friends for the past 23 years now. And so I remember the first time I did a lateral wall, and I said, what do I do if I should lacerate the membrane? He looked at me and he smiled. He goes, we manage it. What does that mean to us? We manage it. In layman's terms, that means, deal with it, fix it. You'll be okay. Because you're going to be, as long as you know how to fix the problem, you can do the procedure, right? So then we go forward. Now that's lateral walls. Today we have versaburs. That's Sohal. He's another guy, great guy. He'll teach you about the densiburs. That's another course. And I do a lot of inferior lifts now where I didn't do as many before because I would just go straight for lateral wall. Now I make my procedures less invasive by doing that. But lateral walls are still needed. Don't get me wrong, they're still needed. But why do you have to learn lateral walls? I came across a doctor, a young doctor, probably about 5 years out, who was doing inferior sinus lifts with the versaburs, densiburs. And he or she said to me that, well, there's no need for me to learn how to do lateral walls because I only do the approach from the crestal approach. So then I go to them and I said, well, what are you going to do if, God forbid, that implant goes into the sinus? He said to me, well, then I would have to call my friend, the oral surgeon, so he can come over and get the implant out. I go, there you go. Don't swim in deep water if you can't swim. Okay, so my whole point behind that is you need to learn how to do lateral walls because, God forbid, something happens like that, you have to be able to go and manage the situation. Okay, and that's all part of becoming. So when I first started with lateral walls, you do 10 and the assistant 10. Don't jump into it right away. Learn from the right people, take the right courses, and get the experience. Okay, eventually you're gonna go into thin ridges and onlay grafts. That sounds less invasive, but it's actually technique sensitive, especially with the soft tissue, as you know. And then what we do is you got to think about the bone. What kind of bone are you going to use? Okay, do you use autogenous bone, allograft bones, a xenograft bone? Do you use a block graft? Do you use particulate graft? So all those are courses that you need to educate yourself so that you can defend your procedures if you have to. So that's a whole different course. All these topics are different courses. Incision design, soft tissue is the key to everything. I've always heard this, didn't believe it until after 10 years. Soft tissue is everything. You really have to manage that soft tissue. Membrane, what kind of membrane are you going to use? Okay, are you going to use a resorbable membrane? Are you going to use a PTFE membrane, metal reinforced? Are you going to be using a mesh, a tie mesh? If you cannot answer these questions, then that means your water is too deep and you have to learn before you jump in again. Okay, so you need to just speak to people. Like I love to share information. So in other words, if you text me, I will, text you back and tell you what I know. And if I don't know something, I will tell you, look, I don't know that, but let's speak to Dr. So, he knows more about that. So that's the key. All of us getting better. Okay. It's like a practice. We don't do it to compete against each other to see who's better. We do it so we can all become better. This procedure right here. This was the case I showed you beforehand with the gums that were purple in the upper anterior area. Now, when we saw those purple gums, we knew there was a problem on there, and that's what I saw when I opened everything up. The guy lost all his bone. So when the patient lost all of his bone, the approach here when the extraction happened was to clean it up like this, add bone to the area, a membrane that's going to support the volume, okay, not just any membrane, and then start to rebuild prosthetically. But the prosthetics is the last part. You have to provisionalize them. And the last picture I showed you of this patient, it looked like a piece of gum across the front that somebody else did. Doesn't matter what they did, it only matters what you do. So that's the way So I use a titanium mesh here. All right. And for the titanium mesh, I placed a particulate graft and I used PRF membrane underneath the mesh and the PRF membrane over the mesh. And I've always done that sandwich technique, and it runs well for me because what's wonderful with PRF, what I realize is that when you get an exposure, it's not like it used to be. When you got an exposure with a titanium mesh without PRF, you were doomed for failure if it happened within the first 11 days, I believe the research showed. And one of those cases, not cases, but those studies comes from Dennis Tarnow, another great gentleman. I'm sure you know him, and he's another guy who's a wealth of information. But what happened? Oops, sorry. So here we did this case, and we go forward. Let me just see if I can go forward here. I just dropped my remote. Hold on. What happened here? I got stuck. Here we go. So this is what it looked like. This is how much volume we got from, in that case, remember, we had to get volume. To maintain volume, you either have to use a PTFE, which is titanium reinforced so that it doesn't collapse, or you have to use a titanium mesh with screws on a pallet and on the buckle so that it can maintain the volume. If it doesn't maintain the volume, you're going to collapse, and that's it. Now, does 100% of this bone remain? No, we all know we're going to get some resorption. You had a great lecture on last year from Germany that says that, okay? I forgot his name, but it was a nice lecture, a gentleman from Germany, all surgeon, periodontist. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Frank Zastro, you mean?
No, not Frank. I know Frank. It's not Frank. It's another gentleman. He had glasses on, but I can't remember his name now. But he meant a slim gentleman. Oh, his light fell as he was giving the lecture. But I remember it. Let me see. I got to mention his name because he was a wealth of information also, because, it was good to see other people and what they do. And he recognized some of his errors and how things can be done better. And we all do that. So you, I'm sure, look at your cases from 10 years ago and you're like, I could have done something different. And this is what the becoming is. You become, okay? You become that person that knows, hey, let me do this instead. Okay, so right here is maintaining this volume of bone is the key. Now, do you see that dark area underneath the titanium mesh? That the radiolucent area is the PRF membrane I put in there. Perio. Okay. That's a key factor here. We need perio. We need that blood to keep that implant healthy, to keep the bone graft healthy. And that's so important, and I try to make it in terms that people can understand. If you want your plant to grow, you need dirt. Okay? Dirt is the bone and water is the blood. We need dirt and water to work. Okay? And this is where perio comes in with free gingival grafts, connective tissue grafts. Lingual ties are something that come up common, often. So we take care of that now. And the soft tissue, like I said, is key to long-term success of all implants. So important.
Okay.
This is something I learned from somebody else.
All right, we did the remote decision that we don't ruin the digital.
We removed maxillary tori. So my whole point behind this part is somebody came, we're going to do a sinus on a sinus and an implant area on the top left side. I believe with the numbering system is number 26. Okay. And in the United States, it would be 13. But she had also severe maxillary buccal tori. So we had to remove that. So while we were there, we did everything. So normally you can do a full thickness flap and go forward and do this. But why? If I know how to do it remotely, okay? And this is what we did. So now with PRF, you just add everything to it. Oh, sorry.
Okay, we removed the tori. All right, we did the revision that we did the tissue here, the contour, the nice arc.
See, right there is the perio thought. If I do a full thickness flap, what's going to happen with the architecture of the connective tissue around the natural teeth, right? So that's when you think perio. So now I was like, okay, let me not damage that beautiful architecture she has already, and I'll go remotely. So that's the perio aspect of it.
So much different, but we
Oh, you like that instrument, Omid?
Yeah,
That instrument there.
I wanted you to talk about it a little bit for us.
Okay. Instrument there, that keyhole instrument, that keyhole right here. Okay, that keyhole is the key to everything. The instrument is 7 millimeters wide, and each one of these lines is 1 millimeter. What I realized, Omid, is as we're getting older, we need to use glasses, right?
Yeah.
And the probe that you use, Omid, you're still young, but the probe you use, you probably realize you're squinting every once in a while to see the lines.
Yeah.
So now with this, I don't squint anymore. I can see with the naked eye. And really, when you're going to do surgery, does it really matter if it's 1 millimeter or 1.25 millimeters? No. Okay. So we have to go in there, and I can use this instrument. Each one of these thick lines is 5 millimeters. So to the naked eye, I know each line is 1 millimeter. That is 5, 10, 15, 20. So, and this slot in here, when you're doing implant surgery, and as you're doing implant, let me just see something. As you're doing implant surgery, what you do is we're constantly using different systems. So we need to know the size of our step drill and the marks on our step drills. So normally we have to turn around and go to the surgical kit and use their little guide there or measure it. Instead here, that slot right here in the middle, the keyhole slot, is always 10 millimeters long. So I just put my step drill there, and right with the naked eye, I know where 10 millimeters is at with any system. So that's where we go. But we'll get more into that.
want to ensure that all this heals nicely. So we're going to put a little PRF on here. The question is, how do I push PRF? Because it's so sticky, not sticky, so how can it feel like sushi, pushing in jello. So what we do is we anchor it with a little suture. We do a remote suture in a remote area, and we kind of sneak it in like this. And now it's all in. That was the PRF I just sutured in place. It stays in there. I don't have to worry about it moving. When I close this up, I'm going to suture this up here, and we're all set. Take care.
Whoever does perio surgery, that's a very simple, common procedure we do. But those who don't take our courses, they don't know how to do that. And it just makes it so simple. Yes or no? So that's where we go forward. Zygomatic and pterygoid implants. Okay, that's the whole game changer now, right? Beforehand it used to be implants, now it's zygomatic and pterygoid implants, okay? And so I needed to know this. I needed to learn, I wanted to get experience with this. And with all the surgical experience we have, this is something that should be in your abilities. Never stop educating yourself in your becoming, okay? The next level, you have to be aware of these things. As I saw when I was taking a course, there were a couple of young doctors there that were only 5 years out. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why are you here? You don't know enough yet to be here. And they're being, they want to go forward quickly. But, I hope that in their practice, nothing happens. But the point is that, as you know, you can't do this yet. And I always compare that to the martial arts. You shouldn't be in a black belt class if you're still a white belt. You shouldn't. So when I saw them, it was funny because even our conversations were different because I had to step down a little bit so that they can understand. And you don't want to show off, but you want to encourage people to learn. So you want to encourage them to learn. At the same time, you want them to be aware and be wise in what they're doing. And in their process of becoming that person, it's wisdom. It's all about wisdom. Okay, so the reason why I got into the zygomatic arches, like I said, zygomatics and pterygoids, is because it eliminates the waiting time when you're doing a sinus. When you do a sinus, if it's severely pneumatized or severely resorbed, you have to wait the 9 months. So we want to skip that and go forward with the zygomatic arches, especially if they're 75 years old. Okay, so this here is gross anatomy. Okay, I graduated in 1994. All right, and I'm here today taking a gross anatomy course. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I have the Calderon Institute. we have a gross anatomy course coming up in August here in New York, okay, in Long Island. And we only take 12 students, 12 doctors. And there were a couple of doctors that said to me, you know, I don't want to take gross anatomy because I already took it. I said, what? I said, okay. I said, well, you know, you don't laugh about it. Like, okay, yeah, you know, you don't have to take it. But to be part of our course, you have to go through this. So, and I'm over here with Norris Medical taking a gross anatomy course again, just to learn the zygomatics, because you know what? It's always good to refresh your mind, right? So we go forward. So I'm there at the zygomatic course. You know these people, Omid. You know, that's Jin Kim there, Jason Kim,
Yeah.
Eric Park.
Yeah.
We're all there.
Yeah.
So my point behind that is that we're all lecturers. We've been lecturing for 20 years, and we're at a zygomatic course together.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Just camaraderie. You know, there may be one little thing that you learn from that moment, but that takes you there forever. You cannot, as Carl Misch used to say, you can't, what do you say? Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it.
Yeah.
But you can always be stupid.
Yeah.
So Carl Misch was famous for that. So Carl Misch, he was just straightforward. You can always be stupid, but you can unlearn things. So just keep on learning. And that's why I got this energy from him to learn all the time. And if you knew Carl Misch,
Yeah.
he's just a great man like that, and a wealth of information also. So my point behind this picture again is that we're all, even though we're all out for years, we're still taking programs together. Botox, the polydioxanone threading, lip fillers are all key to making that canvas look best. Non-surgical facelifts.
Yeah, feel that? Clicking.
Right. So when somebody comes to us and they want to get their crowns done and they're 50 years old or 60 years old, you know, and they feel something about their jowls, you know, you want to help them. I can send them to a cosmetic surgeon where they're going to do a whole facelift. Or I said, you know, I can do something here that's a non-surgical facelift with PDO threading. And they're like, what? What is that? And boom, I show them these videos, and that's what we do. So non-surgical facelift just kind of gives them that little extra smile that they want. Let me see what I can do here now. Oh, did I just mess up again? Let's see something. Hold on. So that's your PDO threads. Okay, that's what we do here. Also at the Calderon Institute, we don't teach you that. Okay, because these are all courses that are just involved, you know. And this is something that I myself, I remember I didn't want to learn from anybody, just a medical doctor around here. I flew out to Milan to learn over there where they're working on the models. I did not want to learn that here, so I wanted to learn from the best. And that's what I did, okay? And so my point behind this is that each one of these topics that we touched, okay, is a whole weekend course or a week-long course, and you learn about these courses by going to these organizations and these meetings and these online meetings that we have today. I'm really hoping that people that are listening to us today, you know, at least put a spark in their mind that they need to learn a lot more. There's a lot more out there to learn. And then eventually you invent something, okay? And it's putting your ideas to work. And like I said, you know, you always think about something, but you don't put it on paper. And this is when I came up with the instrument, okay? And it only came out because my eyes. I said, you know what? I'm squinting too much. Also, when you're doing surgery, you should realize that you're doing surgery, and what do you do when you want to measure something, Omid? You turn around to get your probe, you come back, you measure it, you kind of eyeball it, and then you're staring there. I don't care if you say you don't. Most people, everybody does this. You stare at the one spot there, the landmark, and then you turn around, you're looking for your instrument, you come back, and you start retracting again. Don't we all do that? So now, instead of doing that, I have my instrument that I use the dissection part for, you know, when you're dissecting it and you're holding it back, and I can use that same instrument and just measure right there. I don't have to look at things anymore. I don't have to turn around and get lost. All right. And so this instrument, if you look there, right off the bat, you can see how long the crown is, that patient's crown. All right. The thick line is 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we know that centrals should not be 8 millimeters long. We know that centrals should be 11 millimeters long. Okay. For an ideal occlusion. Right. So that's what it shows me right there. So I tell the patient, this is what the problem is. You lost 30% of your bone, of your tooth. And we need to repair that. That's how we're going to give you this great smile. It's not just about implants. It's all about giving that great smile. So then she does, this person does need an implant in the area of number 5. Now today, you know, and a lot of companies are teaching you, oh, you got to do guided, you got to do guided, you got to do guided. They come out of dental school, guided, I got to do guided, I got to do guided. Yeah, guided is fantastic. You know, and Scott Gans does a great job in teaching guided, okay? And he's behind it all the way. But then you got me who comes over and says, you know what? If I'm going to place this implant, by the time I fabricate a guide, by the time I have that guide 3D printed just for one tooth in my office, I'm already done. And I'm having a cup of coffee with this patient as they're walking out, okay? But it's got to be, this doesn't come easily. It comes with experience. You can't just do this out of school. So this here, the instrument here, as you can see, that keyhole slot is the key to this. And that keyhole slot, I grab that instrument and I move it in between teeth and it automatically centers the implant. So I go straight through that keyhole slot with a step drill. And that keyhole slot is 2.2 millimeters wide, so I can allow the 1.8 or 2 millimeter step drill to go in, okay? And look at the implant, centered, okay? This is brain-guided dentistry. But before you do brain-guided dentistry, you gotta train your brain. It's all about training. It's all about experience. It's all about camaraderie. It's all about learning everything, soft tissue, bone graft. Do I need bone? What kind of membrane? What kind of sutures? Where's the connective tissue? Where's the keratinized tissue? Where's the free gingival of the adjacent teeth? Do I have a crown I have to worry about? It's all about that. And all that is the becoming. You become that black belt. Now, I'm going to show you this case here. This patient came in, and when she came in only wanting the front 6 teeth. Front 4. I only want 4 veneers. When I saw her, I go, you can't, there's more to this. So as a new dentist, maybe you would have done, because she was adamant, I'm not spending money, I'm not doing this. But when you want to get to somebody's emotions, you know, I give discounts so that I can get to that look right there with the glasses, that emotional connection. Because from that emotional connection, she sent so many patients over. Because she was depressed and then she looked like a model. Yeah. So from 4 veneers, this is what she got. We had Dean Vafiatis, famous for teaching me how to open a bite. When in doubt, open a bite. Okay, that's his comment. When in doubt, open a bite. So I hope Dean is listening to this. If he's not listening to this, bad for him, because he has the FMR course out in New York City, which is great to go to. You guys should take advantage of that. And when you're there, take the Calderon Institute. But this patient walked out with that. Even though I gave him a big discount, the value, the how can I say, the economics or the business aspect was like 4 times the value. So really, you know, I made money, but more important, she's healthy and she looks great. This patient walks in. What do you do with that? Now, I learned how to do implants. I learned how to do bone grafts. I learned how to do sinus lifts. I learned how to do zygomatics, perio, all that, right? But now you look at this. Now you got to go back to your crown and bridge, the aesthetics. Now, everybody likes to say, I do aesthetics. Aesthetics is a lot. Learning about how the porcelain works, learning how to communicate with the lab, with the porcelain, what you want, that's a whole different course again, okay? That's not surgical now. Now, a lot of people like to do surgery because surgery is quick. Aesthetics is difficult, okay? And you need to learn about porcelain work also, so you can communicate with the patient, communicate with the lab, and let the patient know what they're gonna get, okay? Because if you don't know, if you're the leader of that treatment plan, but you don't know how to get there, or even worse, you don't know what you don't know until you take courses. That's what it looks like. Now, unfortunately, the bottom picture was a lot of flash, so it looks too white, but that's what we got. So the gentleman who used to come in for composites got a full mouth rehab. So when he came in for 4 composites and the anterior teeth just to get rid of the dark stains, he walked out with something like 20 crowns. I'm sorry, 14. It was 12 on top and 14 on top and 10 on 12 on the bottom. Okay, 26 crowns from 4 composites. So today he comes in, he did a video interview with us, everything, because he's just ecstatic. Now this gentleman, unfortunately, he's gone through some problems with his family, with his wife and all that. So he's out dating again. So he goes, I got to fix my smile. And that's what he did. So now he's very happy. Lingual ties. Key factor here. You know, I don't know if you do a lot of lingual ties, but lingual ties come in is something that you need to learn how to do. Very simple procedure, but it's simple if you know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, you can really step into some deep waters here. You have to be careful, especially in the lingual ones, okay? So that's a course itself. But you need to learn how to do these things. Why send it out when you can take care of it in the office? So my message here is the associations, okay, the big associations, these online seminars that we're on right now. This is the camaraderie today, the online virtual meetings. We hope to come back to our standard conventions, because when you get together and you can sit and shake someone's hand, there's nothing that surpasses that. All right, so that'll come back soon, and when that does come back, we'll all get together again, Omid. And consistency. The one thing about this is that it's just redundant, constantly taking different courses with the same message, and that's how you become that person. All right, this is my wife. Okay, we were out in Milan, I believe, for this, and the island of Capri. So then, and then this is the key here. You ready? So during COVID over here, the office, I had to shut down one office and I had to build another one. So I used to do construction before I became a dentist. Okay, so I went and I grabbed friends. I go, we got to go build this place out. No, but it's COVID. It's okay. We're going to do it together. So we were there and I had to build this office. And even though I am that lecturer and I do the implant dentistry and I do that crazy stuff on TV, on the internet, inside, I'm a construction guy too. Okay. So we have to get back to our basics, what we learned. And I'm sure your parents taught you that, the value of $1. And this is the becoming. You become. So you go from that to this in 9 months, because COVID was around and I had to do something. So I went straight from doing surgery and being the doctor to doing construction. You become, right? And in that transition from becoming that white belt to the black belt, to becoming that doctor that you became, that you know how to view things from different aspects, orthodontically, periodontically, all surgery, Botox, facial aesthetics, facial lifts. That doesn't happen in 1 year. That happens over the years. And even though the person you see on one side is simple jeans, sneakers, construction gloves, on the other side, you see the guy in his suit. Finally, I'm going working on patients. In between all that and the becoming is this guy. That's just me. People look, oh my gosh, you have tattoos? I'm like, yeah. And that's my garage. I don't go to a fancy gym. I go to my little garage and I do it there. Okay, so you become. And when you become that person, you just feel it. You don't know it. You feel it. You just feel it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mike. Actually, as I said it at the beginning, I knew it's gonna be a different kind of presentation, and it's a daily routine for all of us that we always forget about it, and that was a good reminder for all of us to think about what we are doing and think about that. I think I want to add one point. I don't know if you agree with me or not, that people should also know during those becomings that their time frame in life is different to others. So they should follow their own time frame and manage everything, plan for everything, have a goal, fight for it, reaching the goal, that's life. And we should not just compete in reaching our goals, because people's goals are
Right.
different, and timing for reaching that goals also are different. And sometimes people are stuck by comparing themselves with others, and they want to be faster, they want to do, so that's the problem that sometimes people stuck in. Do you agree with me?
I absolutely agree with you. And the reason why I've learned is becoming is a personal example. My brother, he's 8 years older than me, a dentist. And when I graduated, I remember I graduated and then I'm a year out of my residency and I'm in the office with him and I look at him and I look at each other. I go, look, I'm doing the same exact thing you're doing. He goes, yeah, isn't that great? I go, no. He goes, what do you mean no? I go, because you're 8 years ahead of me. And now I'm doing the same thing that you're doing, even though you're 8 years ahead of me. I go, we got to continue advancing so that the person who graduates tomorrow, we're always advancing. That's where the orthodontics came in, the implantology came in, the TMJ treatment, the perio, the bone grafting, the Botox, the implants. Oh my gosh. So yeah, my brother was stuck there, but he didn't realize it. He didn't realize it until just kind of heard that voice. And now, so he and I would drag him. So my message to everybody is also, you know, don't plan. You can plan maybe, okay, you could be 60 years old and think, oh, I can't do this anymore. That's not true. Okay. You just go and you just do it. And then you will become the person you're meant to become by the time you're 70. Okay. And that's what happens. The becoming is different for everyone. But when you become, you feel good inside. And you can start at 25 or you can start at 65, okay? And you become.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I think if you have a dream, if you have a goal, and if you go for it, no matter what, you should just follow a exact path to reach that. You should not be afraid to fail, because definitely face complications in your way, face complexities, you will face negative vibes from other people. But no matter what, you should just follow your goal. Don't be afraid of failing. If you have a goal, continue for that. And dentistry is the same. If you want to be better, you should attend courses. You should be eager to learn more and more and more. And that's the key. Mike, I truly enjoyed talking with you. And as I said, the topic that you chose to talk about was unique and something I believe that so many people forget about it in a daily routine. And that was a good reminder. But just one more thing that I want to ask you and to close the show, because in season 3.
Here comes the hot seat.
What?
This is the hot seat question. What is it?
It's not actually the hot one, but this is something that I asked for my guest in season 3. Do you agree that so many dentists, I'm not going to say so many, but many, many dentists are doing over treatments for the patients these days?
Yeah. Yes. And sometimes it's too much. And that's a conversation that I feel that you have to have with the patient. I don't know why. Sometimes I'll see, like I told you before, they'll edentulate somebody just to give them a whole bridge. And I'll tell them, you know what, all you need is 6 crowns and you'll be fine. Sometimes they just want a bridge. They don't need all these implants and bone grafting procedures. But I think part of it would be to educate the patient at the same time of what you can do. We all want to make money, but we also have to live with ourselves at night when you go to sleep. And you don't want to feel like if you took something away from somebody. But you're absolutely right. Overtreatment is a problem. But I think learning more of everything, you can really zero in and minimize the treatment, but get the best possible.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mike. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for your time, and really hope to see you soon. Days in United States, in Iran, or anywhere else in the world. Thank you so much. Stay safe and head off and say hi from.
Safe, be well. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Remember this, Omid, before you go.
Yeah.
Go like this for me. Go. Yeah. I see.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care, Mike.